All right, here we go and welcome. Today we are going to go over the beginning. It's called Genesis and the book in the Bible where it all began. We're going to go over a little bit about that, what that means, what it means to us, what it should mean to you. The book of Genesis, they call it Bereshit. In the beginning, the first book of the Hebrew Bible and the Old Testament. It is Hebrew name, and it is from the first word, which is Bereshit, in the beginning. Genesis is an account of creation of the world, the early history of humanity and of Israel's ancestors, and the origins of the Yiddish people. So, before we get ahead of ourselves, I would ask that you take everything that somebody has told you and put it on the side, and let's go through this and find out what it truly means and what it's really saying. If we're not careful, what we will find is things that you have been taught wrong, things we have been taught that we didn't have to worry about, all these discrepancies that we see in the scriptures. And all we have to do is read them for ourselves, right? You don't have to ask, you read it for yourself. Well, we do have to have, some guide because we see that's the way it was. It was Yahweh giving it to Adam. But in his unfallen state, Adam obviously had the wisdom, the knowledge, and everything he needed to have this. So without any further ado, let's go. In the beginning, Yahweh created the heaven and the earth. Now, what we have to understand, anytime we see the G-O-D or the L-O-R-D capitalized, or we see the J guy, at this time, there was none. There was no other identities. There was no other deities. There was none other. This is the beginning. So from the beginning, we have Yahweh, the creator of heaven and earth, the YHWH, the Paleo Hebrew. This is what the Paleo Hebrew looks like. You can look it up for yourself. We'll go over it probably later. This is the Paleo Hebrew. That is what it looks up. That is what his name was, is, and forever will be. That's what he says in Isaiah. So knowing these things, your Bible's changed. Your scriptures was changed. When you unfold the Torah, when you go through the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is just another copy of this on goat skin, it actually says Yahweh. So in the beginning, Yahweh created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Ruach of Yahweh moved upon the face of the waters. Now we are going to go over the foundations, the very essence of what we need to know. And we're going to gain and gain and gain until we glean at the end. So the foundations of this is Yahweh created. We don't need science. We don't know axes. We don't know rockets. We don't need any of this to make up what Yahweh created. There's no credentials down here. And by the way, Moshe, tell them this. By the way, Enoch, no. Now it does expand. We do see in scriptures of more things. But the main thing we have to learn here is the foundation, what Yahweh said. And we, as good children, are as good students. However you see it, you can look at this as it's a study. I don't care if you're an atheist and you don't believe in anything. Now you're in a study group. Now we are professing. The professor says, ding, ding, it's time to go to class. And now we are learning what so saith Yahweh. Now, at the ending of this, you have your choice, whether you think or you believe or you don't. But as a believer, as a newcomer, as somebody that's done this your whole life, however the walk may be, the main thing here is what we have to understand is what Yahweh says. And the whole point of this is always what Yahweh has said and to believe him at his word. So that's what we're doing. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Ruach of Yahweh moved upon the face of the waters. There are 7 different spirits of the Creator. The Spirit is the Ruach. This is where I believe a lot of the councils, a lot of the people have changed, and that's why we have such confusion today. Today, people say, oh, the Christmas spirit. Well, of course, you got a spirit, but it's not the spirit of the Most High. See, if you're not careful, we can find out this one has a spirit, that one has a spirit. All these have all these different spirits, but that's not the Ruach. Does that make sense? That you can have Casper's spirit, you can have Freddy's spirit, you can have a familiar spirit, but that is not the spirit of Yahweh, because he don't want us to talk with those demons. Well, what does that mean? Well, we'll talk about that later. Let's go forward. This is all about Yahweh and the Ruach, the H7307. And Yahweh said, let there be light, and there was light. That simple, that easy. Why we have to have some kind of a doctrine and an excuse we don't have to have. Yahweh said there's light, and there it is, the Meshe, the sun, as we know it. And Yahweh saw the light, that it was good, and Yahweh divided the light from the darkness. And Yahweh called the light day, Yom, where we get Yom Kippur, Yom, the day of, right? Yom Kippur, the day of atonement, the day of Sukkot, the day of trumpets, Yom, the day. And the darkness he called night. How you say this? Lolatav, right? Laleth. How you pronounce it, a lot of people get all bent out on different things, but Lolatav, good night. Lolav, right? Lalav. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Now, this is where a lot of people get into different calendars and the different things and the different all kinds of, because what we have to understand, Hebrew is not English, and English is not Hebrew. Yes, we can transliterate. Yes, we can transform it, if you will. We can make the Hebrew into English. But in some instances, it doesn't translate as well. Not with Yahweh, not with Yeshua, not with proper names. They're all names. It's no different. My name is Greg. Whether I'm in Germany, whether I'm in Japan, whether I'm in Afghanistan, whether I'm in Hungary, it doesn't really matter. My name's still Greg. That means Yahweh's name is always going to be Yahweh. We're not going to go to any other country, and you're not going to go into China and say a different name. You're not going to go to Japan and say a different name. Across the board, his name is Yahweh. His son's name is Yeshua. End of discussion. There ain't no, well, how do I pronounce it? Just like it says, right? Let's go forward. The evening. So the whole point of that was, again, that Hebrew goes the opposite of English. English, we go from left to right. We start here in the beginning, but in Hebrew, it goes the opposite way, right? So if we really put that in order, if they didn't put it in order right, the very first line in Genesis was Yahweh created, right? In the beginning, But if we do that the way the Hebrew, probably what really was written down, it's probably Yahweh, the first thing in your Bereshit, in the beginning, Yahweh. It's all about Yahweh from the beginning to the ending. It's always about Yahweh, always. And the in between is to let you know, serve Yahweh or don't serve him as the heathen, or right. So that's how we get to these points. So the evening, the Erev, and the morning, the Boker, Badur, were the first day. So switch that around again, because when the English come in and good old Stuart and all these people come and they redid your Bible, they thought when the sun rise, that was day, and when the sun went down. They didn't realize, according to Yahweh and his timing, the evening and the evening. And we'll get that further on down the road. From evening to evening is a day. So from the evening and the morning were the first day. And Yahweh said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. What is a firmament? What do you think a firmament is? You can ask and see. It's what we know, Rakia, the firmament. It's a fixed thing, right? And we'll talk more of that later. And Yahweh said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Now, a lot of times we read this and we're thinking, okay, this divided the waters from the waters. But we're not just talking about our man-made contraption. What we're talking about is water is here, a firmament comes in, and there's water above and water beneath, right? So that's the firmament. This is the Hebrew mindset. This is what's truly being said. In Hebrew, there's not abstract. In Hebrew, especially Paleo Hebrew, it's concreted, if you will. It's Pictionary. You can hardly get it wrong unless you intentionally get it wrong. Just like this. There is no, well, I think it's no, we ain't got to think. In a lot of cases, we don't have to think. We don't need scholars. We don't need geniuses. We don't need people that know the Bible and try to relate it. We need to simply read it, understand it, and say, oh, that's what he made. That's what it is, right? So if you didn't get that, then here's a good one. Hey, Google, what's the firmament?
According to Wikipedia, in biblical cosmology, the firmament is the vast solid dome created by God during his creation of the world to divide the primal sea into upper and lower portions so that the dry land could appear.
Right? So even Google knows that. The firmament. We have facts that they can't always drown out. We have facts that they can't take away. And I believe Yahweh himself won't let the very essence of the scriptures go away. If you want to debate and talk and twist and turn, then that will be your own demise. But if you want the truth and you want to find the truth, it's there, right? There's no hiding from it. And Yahweh made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. Just like I said, right? That it says it right there. There's waters above the firmament and waters below the firmament. And Yahweh called the firmament heaven, or the Shelim. I'll show you that here. The H8064, the Shelim. And the evening and the morning were the second day. So there you go. And again, if you switch that around, then you find the second day. And Elohim said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let dry land appear. And it was so. Now remember what this says. And Yahweh said, let the waters under heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. So according to this, there was one water and one land. Now, we might find a little bit different happenings in Babel. We might find a little different happenings later on. But from right here, from the best we can tell, it's talking about one water, one land, one water above, right? The Shelayim. And Elohim called the dry land earth. Eretz, earth. And the gathering together of the waters called he the seas, the Yam. And Yahweh saw that it was good. So not only did he look upon this after he made it, he looked upon it and he said it was good. So for anybody to say, well, it's a big bang or any of these other things, that we don't have to try to insert that here. We don't have to try to make that. A lot of this is faith. What is faith? The evidence and substance of things we can't see. This is why people don't believe their Bible, or they do. You have to have the faith to believe the Creator said this is going to happen. And it's not just an unseen faith, because you can look out there and you can see it. And then when you talk to him and you pray, or somebody gets healed or something happens, you know the Creator of the universe heard you, right? So this is not, a lot of the atheists or a lot of these people say, well, I can't believe this, but you can believe a bang started this. You have to have more faith in a bang than you would the Bible. You would almost have to, because you can shoot a shotgun, truly, right? You've seen buildings blow up, right? You've seen dynamite explode, and there ain't universes come out of those. You can go out here and blow up some C4, dynamite, whatever, and there's not a universe and little aliens going, hey, man, help me out here. Oh, that would have been weird. It doesn't happen, right? And we know it doesn't happen. A theory is a theory. We can have theories all day, but science even is facts, or it should be. A theory is something that I can say, this is a piece of paper, and if I take this and throw it in the air and it comes down, then I can prove that's a fact. Just saying it is a somewhat theory. I'm going to throw this and it's going to land here. That's a theory. I'm going to throw it and it goes wherever. So that theory had just been proven wrong because it lands somewhere than what I said, right? Those are theories. A fact, a scientific fact, is I throw this up and I say it's going to land here, and it can produce that 2 or 3 times. Wonder where they got that? 2 or 3 witnesses, right? Even they go off the scriptures and they try to say, well, that's science. No, that's biblical. That's biblical. You're welcome. Well, you're welcome for that. So going on, and the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And Yahweh saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the 3rd day. And Yahweh said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. Now, here's your start of the calendar right here. And Yahweh said, let there be lights. Right? Let there be lights in the firmament. Where are the lights? According to scripture, if we believe scripture, we can't go with what man says. There's a direct going against the Bible, if you will, the scriptures, listening to what man say. It always has, it always will. It's just, the enemy says, did he say so? Yes, he said so. Now you can either take it or leave it, right? But according to scriptures, these lights are in the firmament. According to man, the lights are twinkling up there around galaxy upon galaxy and stations and star tracks away. And Scotty's still looking for them. And Jimmy, we need warp 5, but we can't hold it together much longer. Scotty, give me more warp. And all that, it's entertaining. We love it, right? It's entertaining, but it's not the gospel. It's not the truth. The truth is, and Yahweh said, let there be lights in the firmament. See, we can do this all day long. We can go. That's why a debate really ain't a debate in today's terms. We can debate and talk about what this and what that and all this. But if you're just hollering, that's stupid, that's not a debate. Usually the person screaming that is the one that has the problem because they ain't got the intellectual to talk about it. If we talk about it, a debate should be, is Sabbath the Sabbath or is Sunday the Sabbath? Whoever has the proven points from biblical stance and history is the winner. And that person should go over too. That's what a midrash is actually for, is let's talk about it. But once we talk about it, the thing that I see horribly going on from church to churchianity to Sabbath Hebrew, the way people get the truth. Now, the foundation is your foundation. Once it's laid, you pretty much leave it alone, right? The problem is your foundation was probably cracked. You probably talked about Sunday church. You probably talked about, I don't know, rockets and this and all kinds of things. But the truth of the matter is when you lay this foundation, you keep going. The way the scriptures are laid out for us is we keep moving forward. That makes sense. What we do is we get this layer of the foundation and we know Yahweh created. There's no doubt. We don't have to come back. We don't, other than telling other people, we don't come back to the beginning because we know the beginning. That's why you don't see a lot of apostles, Yeshua, a lot of people debating on the beginning. You don't see a lot of even the Pharisees, and some of the people at the time was lost in the sauce, if you will, that they didn't debate this. They didn't ask him questions on these things. This is the foundation of man. And anybody who knows anything knows this. And the people who know probably know this very well. They may lie to you. They might tell you a different story to get you away from the Creator. But I believe a lot of them know this to be truth as well. So let's go on. And Yahweh said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven, in the Shelim, not in outer space, not in cosmos, not down the road, not any of that. Right there where he said, to divide the day from the night. What's the point? It tells you, take away all the nonsense and all the stuff and just read it for what it says. We get so intellectual into everything that if we would just listen and read it, it's right there. It's as easy as pi, if you will, right? Which pi? 3.14 pi or pi like cake? No, pi ain't like cake. Cake ain't like pie. Anyway, let's go on. To divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So what are we looking for? For signs and for seasons and for days and for years. Let's see. It says the lights in the firmament to divide the day from the night. So right there is what we're looking for, right? We can look at the heavens and we can see what's going on. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Yahweh made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Now, this might be a surprise to you, but if we look into the Hebrew and we dig a little bit deeper, that the stars are angels. So he made the angels, and the angels have a purpose, right? They are called the watchers. They watch over us. So everything we do, and especially, when you go outside at night and it's really dark and you really feel like you can't see and you're really like, boy, I wish I could see better. I wish I knew better. It just feels kind of funny. What's watching over you to watch you to help you? The angels. So take that for what it's worth. Let's go on. And Yahweh said, let them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. Where is it? Are there really stars and galaxies that are light years away? And I can only see them in this telescope. And I can only do this. And I only can trust in this man-made object to do this. Or no, it says that they're in the firmament of the heaven. And they're to give light upon the earth. Okay, so again, do we trust in man? Do we trust in Yahweh? And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Yahweh saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And Yahweh said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. The open firmament. It keeps talking about the firmament, the firmament, the firmament, the Rakia, firmament. Isn't it amazing that we don't even know biblical words, but we claim to be Christians? We claim to be this, we claim to be that. But Christians was not really a good thing either. Surprise, surprise. Does this say anybody was a Christian? Did he call people Christian? Did he call Peter, Kiefer? Did he call any of them people Christians? I don't know why we get to the state that we've in. Well, I do, but you know, it's amazing that we don't take the foundation and keep building upon it. We usually get taught not to worry about this to begin with. We're going to start with whom and what? Oh, let's start in Matthew or Mark or Luke or John or, you know, John 3:16 or something like that. So the earth in the open firmament. Wait a minute. So there's a firmament, right? Let me see if I can figure this out. So what you're saying, there's a firmament, right? And this is the firmament. This is considered like firmament. All the stars and everything goes within this firmament, right? Now, the open firmament, the open area, open firmament, is where the birds and all the things are flying around, right? Within the open aired firmament. Everybody knew this. What's sad about this? Everybody knew this. They knew this. This was just general information. If you'd have went back to Noah, if you'd have went back to Enoch, if you'd went back to any of the patriarchs, any of these people, they would have schooled you on this and thought something was wrong with you. But for some reason, we don't have them same beliefs today. And Elohim created the great whales and every living creature that moveth, which were in the waters. He brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And Yahweh saw that it was good. And Yahweh blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. And Yahweh said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, the beast of the earth after his kind, and it was so. So again, all we have to do is understand what is going on. Now, the biggest thing we have to check into is like this beast, which is the K or the Che or the Ke, right? There's different pronunciations because there's paleo, there's modern, and then there's what they speak today, right? So there's like three different Hebrews, if you will, but the main Hebrew is the Paleo Hebrew. It's what this was actually penned in, scribed in, written down upon deer parchment, deer skin upon. then again on goat skin, and then onto paperwork and things of that matter, right? So of the earth after his kind, and it was so. And Yahweh made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle and after their kind, and everything that creepeth on the earth after his kind. And Yahweh saw that it was good. So do we have any questions or comments? Let's go a little bit further. And Yahweh said, let us make man in our image. Wait a minute. Let us. So should this be an us, or is this something added to? Asal, a primitive root. To do or to make, the broadcast in the widest application. So to appoint, right? We'll go over this a little bit more, but from the beginning, there's Yeshua. From the beginning, what we just read, the angels. Now, these angels go with him, are with him. They go before him. He sends them, let us go down. So even Yahweh himself judges righteously, right? Your life will be judged off of what you do. You will be judged on whether you take this and say, I don't believe it, or I believe it in my own way. I believe it in my own thinking. I believe there was a Big Bang. I believe that fits in. You'll be judged upon all that according to this. And that's where we have to be careful. So let's go on. And Yahweh created the man in his own image. In the image of, and notice it doesn't say us or them or anything else. It says Yahweh created, right? Now, the other version, when we see the Elohim or God, is Elohim. But to keep all the other aspects out, the creator is Yahweh. And I believe that's what was there in the original form. Because when you take out this and the and they and all that other stuff, it's pretty much a Yahweh did. Yahweh did this. Yahweh did that. It's explaining to you who did it. There's no doubt. There's no other gods before him. There's no other gods after him. There's no God beside him. He did, and he's letting us know whom did this, right? If we could say that. He's letting us know that Yahweh did this. And Yahweh forgive us if we go against that. It also shows the power of the Creator. The power of the Creator creating all this. Well, how can you diminish that? Well, say a rock exploded. Say there's a vacuum. Say there's, all these things that people try to say are happening, and it diminishes. Even if it's just a little bit, you start diminishing just a little bit, and before you know it, I can't trust that guy because I can't trust this. I can't trust that because you start seeing flaws and cracks. Make sense? But if you take him for what he says and at the word, then that's what you get. So he created man in his own image. In the image of Yahweh created he man, male and female. He created them. Now, this is a very, very, very good story right here. That he created man and woman. That's what it says, right? It says he created the male, the Zakar, the male, and the female, the Nekabal, right? Nekabal. He made the male and the female, and he created them. Now, most people say, well, of course, we know this. We'll read on and we'll come back to this. And Yahweh blessed them, and Yahweh said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Right? Replenish. And it don't really mean replenish because this is another word of the Hebrew, the malah, which means to fill, not to replenish, just the point of saying replenish means it was depleted and now I'm redoing something. No, that's not the word. The word is not replenish. The word is makal. So, or malal, right? Which means to feel. So the proper word here again would be to feel the earth, not to replenish the earth, to feel the earth. A whole different thing. Replenish it. Well, there must have been water in it. Can you fill it up again with water? Or fill it. It's never been, as far as we know, had anything in it. Fill this up. Put water. Put something in it. Fill it up. Right? And in this case, obviously, to fill the earth with people. So, wait a minute. Let's go over this one more time and then we'll back up one more verse. So Yahweh blessed them and Yahweh said to them, be fruitful and fill the earth. Now again, people say, well, look, you're adding to and taking away. No, this is what's called putting it in order. When you take something and you find the Paleo Hebrew and you find a scroll, and if you by all means want to go travel to Jerusalem or to, I believe, Denver till the first of the year has the Dead Sea Scrolls, or you find a place that has this written in Hebrew, by all means, go there, take a picture of it, and see it for yourself. But that's no more than what this is doing. You're taking the Hebrew scrolls and you're saying this is what the Hebrew scrolls really say. So in other words, it's just saying some guy somewhere, who knows which one, out of the 21 councils, put in replenish instead of what should have been fill. So he was uneducated or did it on purpose. Who knows? That's a whole nother story. But we want to put the words in that was there. And a lot of these other ands and those and thems and theys and that, all the adjectives and pronouns don't even really belong there. Yahweh made. Again, the whole purpose of it is you knowing the Creator did it and what he did. Hows and ands and those and thous and therefores are not really a part of the original text. It's more of, concrete. We don't need to figure out the preposition is and the preposition, no, Yahweh made. That's all you need to know. That's the whole point, right? So, keep that as your foundation through the scriptures. When it's talking about the Creator, remember it's the Creator who's saying yes or no. And then when it's somebody else, is it talking to you, me, or Job? A lot of people will sell their whole possession and say, well, look, and, because of something that wasn't pinned to you, he wasn't talking to you. If you feel that and you know that, but if you don't know it, don't do it, right? That's where a lot of people get in trouble. So let's go on. And Yahweh blessed them, and Yahweh said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. So they was in control. If you would, they was what? Controlling the earth and everything on it. And Yahweh said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed. Every herb bearing seed. Every elub, again, how you pronounce it in the Hebrew tongue, every elub bearing seed. Now the seed, the zerah, the seed is very important because without the seed, it's not on the menu, right? Mushrooms, things of fungus, things of that is not a herb bearing seed. It's not a seed, then it's not on the menu. I have given you every herb bearing seed, which upon the face of all the earth, the Eretz, and every tree in which the fruit of a tree is yielding. Seed, again, seed. Oranges have seeds, tangerines with seeds, pears with seeds, not hybrids, things that have seeds. Make sense? To you it shall be for meat. This is the original food, the oglah food. What was on the menu? You didn't eat meat, you didn't have lamb, you didn't have this, you didn't have that. So what would you do? You don't have the meats coming in until the sin, right? Now people are going to say, well, what about the feast days? You can bring in your harvest, you can bring in your things, you can bring in the feast days and celebrate them without what? Without the sinful nature. You can still bring these in and praise Yahweh that you have these. But it was sin. So again, it's man that breaks problems and brings more upon himself. And then for some reason, when man sins and commits sin, you don't think he's got to do a thing about it. And this is what you see in churchianity. Of course I've sinned. Of course I've done this, but I say a prayer and get rid of it. No, you don't say a prayer and get rid of it. You got to do what he says. Even in this, these are really commandments. These are the commandments being handed down. You have dominion over them. You have more children and fill this earth. You do these things. Now, again, let's back up and let's see something. And we'll have to remember this for later on. So who said? Elohim, Yahweh created man in his own image. In the image of Yahweh created he him, male and female. He created them. Now that says specifically there was a man and a woman made. Right? He made man. It tells us how he made man later. It tells us what happened to man, but he says right here that he made the male and the female. We don't have names that we know of, but other references show us that this is a creation of them there. And Yahweh said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree that is which the fruit of the tree yielding seed, to you it shall be meat. And to every beast of the earth, and every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And Yahweh saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Now, timing is everything. It says and is written that one day is 1,000 years, right? Timing is everything. So within these 6 days, we don't have a Sabbath yet. Within these 6 days, we have man-made, all these things that are created. And we have no mention of a Sabbath day, right? He made the Meshe and the Yarek. He made the sun and the moon. But he doesn't say to follow them for your Sabbath. He doesn't say to follow these for anything other than for the time, right? So no scriptures have we found yet that tells us to watch these for our Sabbath or to watch these anything other than they are for our timepiece, which we understand, right? Right here again. And Yahweh said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So obviously we get our clock, we get our timepiece from the night and the seasons, the days and the years. So we get them from what? What do we see in the nighttime? According to scripture, this is what scripture says, right? We see what in the nighttime? We see the moon and we see the stars. Now, this is where some of the ancients will say, for it truly to be the Sabbath on the seventh night, you have to see 3 stars. Now, what we usually do is go with it's dark, right? It's dark. You see stars, how many you want to count? It's dark. But what the ancients usually do is they have to see 3 stars, and that's their timepiece to say it's Friday evening, it's time to start the Sabbath, and 3 witnesses, which is fine. I see nothing wrong with that, nothing against that. I see that's looks fine to me. You're using the night, you're using the stars, exactly what it says. Anything other than that, I'm going to say 7 stars. I'm going to say 20 stars. I got to see the moon. I got to see this. Oh, it can't be the night because I don't see the moon. These are all false teachings. They're all false doctrines. It's all just a bunch of man-made garbage because it doesn't say that. We have to go with what it says. And when it talks of the night, I think we all know we're out of nursery school, and a child that may be listening to this can figure out what the nighttime is. So that's where we know from evening to evening, it's like we find that it says on Passover, all the scriptures, from evening to evening is the beginning of the new day, right? So this evening, at evening, when it's dark, or if you want to use the 3 stars, then by all means, that is the new day. That's the new beginning. That's when you get your rest. That's when you get up, and then during the daylight hours start, right? So with all that being said, what we have here is the beginning, the Bereshit, the beginning of creation and who created it. So again, who created it? Yahweh. What did he do? He created it all. He doesn't need science or any of these other people to say they okay it. He wants us to believe that he did it because that's what's written here. Now, who wrote this? The traditional credits Moshe as the author of Genesis, as well as Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Now, what we have to understand, because a lot of people say, well, how did Moses write this? Because Moses knew this. And if you look forward, the whole point, if you look and read, is I don't believe Adam he didn't need this written down. He was made in the image of the Creator. Do you think the Creator needs a scroll to walk around and remember he created this? Or you think he knows he created it? I'm pretty much sure he knows he created. I'm pretty much sure he knows what he created. There's not too many doubts there. It shouldn't be from anyone to know what the Creator said he did, right? He can look down himself and say, oh yeah, that's what I made right there. Now he might look down on some of the people and some of the things in a disgust, if you will, but nonetheless, he can look and see his creation. So we went over the firmament, we went over the man and woman being made, and we're just going to leave it at that before we get too far out there. But for the next one, we're going to talk about, remember, the man and the woman have already been made. The firmament's there, and all these things that are happening are right there for us to read. So the next thing we're going to go into is the alphabet, where we get the alphabet. He says, I am the Aleph and the Tav. There's 22 letters in the alphabet. And that's where we get our current alphabet wording, not from the Hebrew, but from that alphabet. Makes sense? So we have to do what the scriptures say. We have to know the foundation. And once we've laid this foundation, then we keep adding. Once we go through Genesis, then we go through and we find out Leviticus, Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, all these things, and it keeps adding to know what's happened. And then for the most part, other than going back and if you forgot or you're trying to teach somebody, this is the foundation. We don't need to go back and question it. The scriptures are not really made to question. They're not made to debate. They're not made to argue. They're made to midrash, if you will, to talk them over, but it's not a fighting contention point. It's a point of this is what it says. The whole point of anybody talking about it is you see it this way, this one sees it that way, and then hopefully the elder or the wise one or the anointed one, the appointed one says, you're both stupid, shut up. This is what it says, right? And that shouldn't even be, but for the date and time, you both are just wet behind the ears. Look here, rookies. This is what it truly meant. And this is because within those years, we're supposed to have wisdom. And to get that wisdom, we have to grow. We have to learn. We have to get down what is so saying Yahweh. So again, if there's any questions, any comments, this again, any level, but mainly to start out with you, that you know what it says. And there's no doubt of what it says. There's no doubt of what he made. You can read it for yourself. You can find out what he says. It's right there. Now you take this and you build upon this and you keep going and we keep going. And by the time we get into Exodus or we get into this or we get into Cain and where do you find a wife and all these things, we can answer those questions without going, yeah, what's up with that? We can answer them because we have the foundation. We know, so saith Yahweh, right? So until next time, may Yahweh bless you. May his countenance shine upon you and may he grant you shalom. And that is the Aaronic blessing that Yahweh again told them to bless. A lot of this is not, well, none of this is man-made. This is all Yahweh said, right? Thus saith Yahweh. Yahweh said he made it, so we believe he made it. Yahweh came and said, hey, you go give them this blessing, and you put this blessing and bestow this upon them, then we do it. That's what a lot of this is about. It's not a man-made Christmas tree, believing some little baby and all this kind of stuff that's came upon. This is the true scriptures without, all the addings to, taking away, and opinion. Read it for yourself. That's what it says. So until next time, may Yahweh bless you and may his countenance shine upon you. Have a great and wonderful day or evening or morning. Shalom and blessings. Have a great and wonderful